What's going on, and welcome to the Solo Shot. My name is Tom Vecchio. We have a 10-game MLB slate tonight. It starts at 7:05. As always, this is one of the many shows on the FanDuel Podcast Network. You can find that anywhere, whether it's iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, you name it. The video version can also be found on the FanDuel YouTube page, on FanDuel TV Plus, and FanDuel.com/watch. You can follow me on Twitter at Tom_Vecchio1. Before we hop into things, get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use, and you can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. First online real money wager, only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. That's if you're in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, or Virginia. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat if you're in Connecticut. Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. If you're in Indiana, call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com in Kansas. If you're in Louisiana, call 1-877-770-STOP. If you're in Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net if you're in West Virginia, or call 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. NFL Sunday Ticket offer ends 9/18/23. No refunds, terms, and embargoes apply. $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket, not YouTube TV. YouTube TV base plan required to watch YouTube TV. Redemption requires a Google account and current form of payment. Commercial use excluded. All right, let's jump into tonight's 10-game slate. Again, lock is set for 7:05. Looking really, really clear on the weather front. We have the Giants visiting the Chicago Cubs. It is warm. It is humid there. The winds are blowing out to left field at about 15 miles per hour. This is a big, big boost for hitters. We know that Wrigley Field is impacted by wind further or even more than the average stadium. So that is a big boost for hitters. Another hot day in Kansas City, as we saw yesterday. They put up a dozen runs against the White Sox. Same situation there. Another hot day. Winds out to right at 10-15. So no rain on tonight's slate, which is great, and some really, really nice hitting weather. It's also super hot for both the Yankees at home and the Washington Nationals at home, and of course the Braves at home. So probably a lot of offense tonight is what we should be expecting. Let's jump over to pitching to start things off. Again, 10 games. We have a good mix of pitchers all the way up the top. Gerrit Cole leads things off at $11,500. Framber Valdez is 10.4. Nathan Eovaldi is set to return from the IL. He is 10K. Chris Bassett is 9.3, and Dean Creamer is 9,000. Those are the pitchers that are above 9K tonight. I think a lot of people will be looking directly to Gerrit Cole, and it makes a lot of sense where Valdez at 10.4, he's been a little bit shaky as of late, and especially going up against Texas isn't the easiest matchup. So, in terms of these two, Cole versus Valdez, I think everyone will be leaning towards Cole. And then Eovaldi is coming off the IL, and he did not make a minor league rehab start, and I've seen no indication thus far in terms of will he be on some type of pitch count, pitch limit, whatever it might be. I have not seen any news regarding that. And even if Eovaldi was fully healthy, he was never on the IL at any point this season, going up against Houston is not the easiest matchup. So again, another factor kind of pushing towards Gerrit Cole being the clear SP1 on tonight's slate. He's at home. He's 11,500 going up against the Detroit Tigers. Cole comes in with a very solid 27.1% strikeout rate this year, 6.5% walk rate, only allowing 1.03 home runs per 9. This is the fewest amount of home runs he's allowed since 2018. So truly one of the best seasons he's had. Of course, very strong stuff from him coming in with a 3.69 Sierra skill interactive ERA. And ultimately, it's a great matchup for him going up against Detroit. And with their current active roster, they come in with a 24.4% strikeout rate versus right-handed pitching, which is the 6th worst in the league. And we obviously know that the strikeout potential from Gerrit Cole is always there. And this is a matchup that really should accentuate that. We also look to Detroit overall this season, or I should say, versus righties with their current active roster. They come in with an 86 WRC plus, which is 27th in the league. They're also coming in with a 145 team ISO versus righties with their active roster, which is 27th in the league. So this really does shape up to be an elite matchup for Gerrit Cole, who has that strikeout upside, who's facing a team that is very susceptible to strikeouts. We know he can push towards 40, 50 some odd FanDuel points. So really, really clear up at the top in terms of these pitchers that are above 10,000. Eovaldi, I'm concerned about his pitch count or his pitch limit. First start off the IL, again, did not see anything regarding that. He also did not make a minor league rehab start. That is very concerning. And ultimately, it's against Houston. It's not really a matchup that I'm like running to attack. And the same thing with Valdez. I don't love to be taking pitchers against Texas. And this really leaves Chris Bassitt and Dean Kremer as two other viable options. And they're both pitchers that do not carry nearly the same strikeout upside that Gerrit Cole has. And, when we look at some of their options on the slate, could we normally make a case for Dylan Cease, a pitcher? Dylan Cease is 8,200 tonight. Cease is a pitcher that we know has some legitimate strikeout upside, and it's really not the most difficult matchup going up against Kansas City. They do strike out a good amount of the time, but the hitting conditions there are very, very favorable for hitters and not for pitchers. So this is where things get a little bit interesting. It's like, sure, Cease does have some of that strikeout upside, and the matchup against Kansas City is a good one. But we don't want to be going there given how favorable the conditions are for hitting. So it really leaves the rest of the slate kind of thin when it comes to the overall pitching options. And Bassitt and Kremer are good options tonight. And Bassitt by no means is a big strikeout pitcher, but the matchup we absolutely love going up against Oakland. Bassitt comes in with a 21.9% strikeout rate, a 7.5% walk rate. He's allowing 1.36 home runs per 9, which I do expect to regress because he's mainly a medium contact and ground ball pitcher at 53.9% medium contact rate and 40.6% ground ball rate. So he's given up a few more home runs than I would expect with a 13.4% home run to fly ball ratio overall this season. He's never going to carry the same strikeout upside, as Gerrit Cole, Valdez, or Eovaldi, but the matchup is so good in Oakland, and it's just an awesome pitcher's park that he could really cruise to a QS, maybe the win. I know we don't want to be banking on those fantasy points, but that's a realistic range of outcomes for Chris Bassitt tonight. And of course, we're not really worried about Oakland. Sure, do they, strike out a lot? Yeah, 24.2% of the time versus righties with their current active roster. That's, tied. It's at 7th in the league, right behind Detroit's at 24.4. And yes, the matchup is very easy given their below league average offense with a 92 WRC plus. But again, if we have to have one option on tonight's slate, it's going to be Gerrit Cole. And much of the same can be said about Dean Kremer for the Baltimore Orioles. He's 9,000. I guess it's a bit of a coin flip between Chris Bassitt and Kremer, as they're only $300 apart when it comes to their salary. And it's kind of the same situation for Dean Kremer. 21.2% strikeout rate is not super high, 6.8% walk rate. He does have a 4.40 Sierra. Again, a 53.9% medium contact rate. Like, things are relatively the same between these two pitchers. And it really just comes down to the matchup. The Angels do not have a good lineup right now. With their current active roster, they come in with a third highest strikeout rate versus righty, sitting at 25.3%. This is not a team we really need to be worried about. Ohtani was scratched last night before the game. He's got this oblique thing going on. They said he would undergo more testing today. We know Trout's out of the lineup. They put Renfroe on waivers. They put Grichuk on waivers. Like, I know Grichuk didn't get claimed, but Renfroe got claimed. There's no Ohtani. There's no Trout. Like, this is not a good lineup for the Angels. So they're striking out at a very high clip right now. Yes, Kremer isn't a big strikeout pitcher, but he certainly has the matchup to push towards a higher ceiling. So Gerrit Cole, the clear number one option when it comes to pitching tonight. And then I'll be looking to save just a little bit. And that comes down to Bassitt and Kremer at 93 $9,000. There's not a whole set of good options that we want to be looking to tonight in terms of potential upside. Like I said, maybe you can make the case for Dylan Cease on a normal slate. I don't think tonight is the night for him going up against Kansas City with those winds blowing out, and he has been susceptible to home runs at time. So that is pitching on tonight's slate. Let's move over to the stacks for tonight, because again, we are dealing with some really, really strong hitting environments on tonight's slate. Let's start off in Chicago at Wrigley Field. Now, for the Giants, they are expected to have Ryan Walker open for them. It's expected to be Sean Manaea as the bulk pitcher behind him. Sean Manaea, a pitcher that I think we can very, very much look to attack via stacks. He comes in, yes, he does have a 27.8% strikeout rate, which is the highest he's posted since 2019, but he has a 10.2% walk rate, which we know is very, very dangerous. He's never been a pitcher that has a ton of control, ton of command at the plate, and he's letting hitters on for free. The Cubs, they have an offense that can certainly do this, put up some runs against lefties. So this is where we want to be going again with these favorable hitting conditions, with the wind blowing out towards left field tonight, which is absolutely awesome. So when we look to the Cubs, who do we want to be considering when it comes to stacking? We want to be looking at Cody Bellinger. Despite this being a lefty-lefty matchup, he actually has a 165 WRC plus this season versus lefties. And more importantly, I want to say for the Cubs stack overall, they're not super expensive outside of Cody Bellinger. Why I bring him up, he's $3,900. He's the most expensive player on the Cubs. Nico Hoerner is $3,500, but after that, we're looking at Swanson at $3,100, Happ at $3,100, Candelario at $3,000, and then we can drop down and take Suzuki at $2,800, Patrick Wisdom at $2,700. So yes, I want to be leading things off with Cody Bellinger and Dansby Swanson, just because those are the most consistent players and also players that bring a lot of upside, especially in this matchup. And ultimately, that can be done because we have a lot of affordable options within the rest of the Cubs lineup. So absolutely looking to go against Sean Manaea, a pitcher that has struggled with home runs, that is allowing runners on for free with that 10.2% walk rate, along with the super, super favorable conditions at Wrigley Field tonight. It's hot, it's humid, the winds are blowing out to left field. Like, we are checking off every single box that we could possibly want, especially against the pitcher that allows runners on for free and has been susceptible against home runs really over the course of the past few seasons. So all good stuff for the Cubs tonight. And, they've been hot. Bellinger has been super hot. All of this is good signs for the Cubs and their stacking potential tonight. Where else can we be looking? We have the Atlanta Braves on tonight's slate. I don't want to specifically mention them. I think they are pretty much a given on a nightly basis. They're at home. They're going up against Miles Mikolas for the St. Louis Cardinals. Stack the Braves tonight. Surprise, surprise. They're going to be in an awesome spot. They can put up 5, 6, 7, 10 runs on a nightly basis. Really doesn't matter who they're going up against. So, yeah, stack the Braves tonight. Again, there's no Coors Field on tonight's slate. I think that is always good to see. We can, differentiate our stacks. We don't have to be going towards the chalk. We can look to find some stacks that are a bit under the radar, that are not going to be as popular. But speaking of Coors Field, I should say, not speaking of Coors Field, speaking of the Colorado Rockies, they have Kyle Freeland on the mound tonight, and that means we want to be looking to the hitters going up against him. Kyle Freeland for the Rockies, not a good pitcher, not a big strikeout pitcher, allowing too many home runs. He doesn't necessarily allow too many runners on base or free. He does have a pretty solid 6.2% walk rate, but a 14.5% strikeout rate is not threatening at all. He has a 39.6% hard contact rate this year, along with a 40.6% fly ball rate. All in all, he has a 5.18 Sierra Skill Interactive ERA. Again, not a pitcher we need to be worried about. And the Diamondbacks have some hitters that we should be very interested in stacking. A few of them up at the top are slightly expensive, with Corbin Carroll at $4K, Christian Walker, who's in an awesome spot tonight, at $3,600, and Ketel Marte at $34. But after that, every other hitter, starting with Lourdes Gurriel Jr. at $3K, he is the next most expensive one. So we can get 4 or 5 different options from their lineup that are $3K and below. Now, of course, we want to be getting to Carroll, Walker, and Marte as the ideal options from the Diamondbacks when we're looking to stack, but we can mix and match. We can take 1 or 2 of these players, take a bit of value, still look to pay up for pitching, kind of do the same thing with the Cubs where, yeah, you can look to pay up for Bellinger, but then we have a few value options we can look to mix and match throughout the rest of the stack, depending on what positions or what you may need. So yeah, I want to start off stacks with getting to Corbin Carroll, getting to Christian Walker, like I said, particularly in a great spot tonight with a 353 ISO versus left-handed pitching this year, coming in with a 404 WOBA and a 157 WRC plus. Christian Walker is really one of my favorite players on tonight's slate, given the matchup and really everything that we have. Get against Freeland, his salary, which I think is spot on of where it should be tonight, and really just fitting him into any possible lineup I can, whether it's cash, whether it's GPP. I think he's going to be a super solid option. Can you look to Marte? Of course. Corbin Carroll, yes, of course. But where else can we look? And Tommy Pham, I think we should not be forgetting about him. He has a 200 ISO versus lefties, which is something we absolutely love to see. So I'll certainly be mixing him into the lineup. He kind of falls in this middle ground at 2,800, where he's not like a super, super value. And if you're looking to pay up for Corbin Carroll and Christian Walker, you may try and overpass this middle portion of hitters and try and drop down. But don't forget about Tommy Pham. A 200 ISO versus lefties is something you absolutely want in your lineups. So we have the Cubs, we have the Diamondbacks. Those are two very clear options. Again, we have the Braves on tonight's slate. Also, another very, very clear option. Those are three solid teams you could be looking to stack on any single slate. And then I want to close things out by, and I will also say, Chicago White Sox and the Kansas City Royals. Like I said, great hitting environment there. A lot of wind blowing out. It's hot, as we saw yesterday. Royals put up a dozen runs. Either of the teams could kind of do that tonight. Brady Singer, not a pitcher I'm really worried about. As I said, Dylan Cease, he's been struggling with home runs. He does have that strikeout upside, but really the hitting environment is too good in Kansas City tonight. So White Sox and Kansas City, both teams you should also be going to tonight. But I also want to take a look at the New York Mets tonight. They're on the road, going up against Washington Nationals, another spot where it's super hot. And they're going up against Patrick Corbin, another pitcher that allows too many home runs, a pitcher that we do not need to be worried about in terms of shutting down hitters at the plate. He comes in with a 16% strikeout rate this year, which is so low. 1.57 home runs per 9 allowed and a 4.94 Sierra. Really nothing we need to be worried about. And yes, the Mets have been struggling this year, or they have struggled throughout the entirety of the season. They're not an offense that I know a lot of people are necessarily looking to run to get into their lineups, but Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor, Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil make a pretty solid four-man stack tonight. Now, granted, all these players have varying amounts of interest, where Pete Alonso, of course, leads the way with a 339 ISO this year versus lefties is something that we absolutely love to see. Francisco Lindor, the 255 ISO, absolutely love to see. McNeil and Nimmo don't bring any power to the plate. McNeil has a 0.060 ISO and Nimmo is at a 0.110 ISO. So they are not power hitters. We know that, but neither of them strike out at a super high rate. They're both coming in with WOBAs at 319 or higher, and they get on base. And that's what we love to see. When they get on base, they draw a walk, and then Pete Alonso comes to play with runners on base. They can't pitch around him, and we want that ISO to kind of show itself there, and that's where we have the home run upside. That's where the stack should be at its best. So I'm looking to get some Alonso tonight. I'm looking to get some, Lindor, McNeil, Nimmo, whatever it might be. I will say DJ Stewart has a 267 ISO versus lefties. Now, whether he makes the lineup or not is yet to be seen. He is a left-handed hitter, but the lefty, despite it being a lefty-lefty matchup going up against Corbin, DJ Stewart is $2,600 tonight, and he has that power that we love to see. So this is, a spot of just a wait and see given his, if he's in the lineup or not. But I do like the power that he brings at a very, very affordable salary tonight. All right, so let's move on to the dinger calls to close things out. The first one is going to be Christian Walker for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Like I said, this matchup versus Kyle Freeland is just too good for him with a 353 ISO versus lefties this season. He has the power. He's going to be in the middle of the lineup. We know what he can do. Absolutely love everything about him and the Diamondbacks as a stack tonight. Super, super clear. That's where we want to be going. And then Cody Bellinger, another player that's been super hot again. Just an awesome matchup for him. Despite it being lefty-lefty, he's actually better versus lefties this season than he is versus righties. And Sean Mannier's not a pitcher I'm necessarily worried about. Again, super, super strong hitting additions at Wrigley Field tonight. Should present a lot of upside for both of those teams. I'm particularly interested in the Chicago Cubs tonight ahead of the Giants, and Cody Bellinger would be that number one option for a home run. So Cody Bellinger, Christian Walker as the two home run options tonight. Again, it's a 10-game slate of locks at 7:05. I will be here throughout the entirety of September to close out the MLB season. Jim Sonis is doing plenty with NFL, so I am taking this show over to kind of help him out on that front. As always, this is one of the many shows on the FanDuel Podcast Network. You can find it anywhere, whether it's iTunes, whether it's Google Podcasts, whether it's Spotify. Make sure to give it a like, follow, or subscribe. Leave a review. That would be greatly appreciated. You can follow me on Twitter at Tom_Vecchio1. And until next time, good luck in your contests.